Welcome back, everybody. We are back with the full season one spoiler review of X-Men 97. Y'all guys, welcome to Jedi Mike 7 YouTube channel. I'm your host Jedi Mike 7 with my co-host Jay King. Jay King, how you doing?
Doing all right, feeling that mutant crowd all over this damn episode and all over the season.
Yes, yeah, we'll be reviewing the entire first season. Obviously, this finale just came out recently, and we're gonna be talking about that. All spoiler review and everything, but just giving our thoughts on this really fantastic season of X-Men 97 there. Yeah, just off rip, we just get into just 10 episodes 10 episodes on consistently just building off each episode um week after week and having a continuous momentum, even like slower episodes that might have been more slower paced, like Storm, Forge episode and everything, or Jubilee episode, but still giving emotional impact and stuff to push the story further. But then after like episode 5, we just keep getting heavy hitters like one after another, and this is literally textbook of why Disney Plus as a platform is needed to have shows like this, but it's also important for shows like this to exist on Disney Plus so where people can actually enjoy this platform instead of watching things they feel like, well, it's kind of just another flavor of the week and not actually anything substantial. Yes, this was the amazing show, bringing back the old and the new generation, and bringing them together. And it's right now it's great to be a Marvel fan, but it's good to be an X-Men fan in general. All the haters are silent, and also people. This is setting a precedent of what could be a new wave of Disney Plus Marvel, which we actually are already seeing it right now with Marvel Animation creating a separate division and stuff with their film, TV division, everything. So it's going there. But yeah, we already got confirmed of season 2 and season 3 going there. But this one off rip, just talk to you, Jake. Like, what was just your thoughts on now after we get conclusion of this season, even though we also have some cliffhangers at the end, but just the terms of just this whole journey from episode 1 to the finale of the season, just what was your overall thoughts?
Overall, I mean, Jesus Christ, this show every single week, ever since that 2 episode premiere, like a couple, 9 weeks ago now, has just, as you said, it's just been hit after hit after hit. And every single episode, it would just be amazing. Again, I am an X-Men fan. I am a huge X-Men fan. So seeing the characters from the old 90s cartoon get to continue their story while also adapting stories from the 90s, early 2000s, even current day X-Men comic books into a wider narrative, of the X-Men basically trying to, as always, like earn their place in the world as well as to show the world that they exist. They're here and they're not going anywhere. It's just been fascinating, being able to call out all these specific moments from X-Men comics, again, of the 90s and 2000s and such, while also seeing people experiencing these type of stories for the first time, like the Goblin Queen or Bastion or Life Death, or all these amazing stories of the X-Men that they just never got the chance to do originally back in the 90s cartoon, or they couldn't do to a certain extent because of censorship back during those times. Again, it's just great to see. It's so good to see so many people just loving this show, loving the X-Men, and getting to see them at their prime. That's the thing. This show has the X-Men at their prime. Cyclops is at his prime. Storm is at her prime. Morph is at his prime. Wolverine is at his prime. Rogue is at her prime. Jean and Madeline are at their prime. We get to see new characters again, like Goblin Queen, Roberto da Costa, Bastion. We get to see the return of Cable and Bishop. There's just so much to the show every single week. Great writing, great storytelling, not afraid of its comic book roots that just had me enthralled the entire time. And it's just going to be weird now going into next week with no new episodes.
Yeah. Again, is that this show capitulates everything what the Marvel universe is supposed to be in terms of even though this has a vintage feel of it, now we're in a modernized, time and everything, obviously. But like, just terms of the emotional arcs that these 10 episodes have gone through, this is basically an anime. It's anime writing on a Marvel show. And I feel like the same impact you get on anime shows, My Hero Academia, and shout out to anime, is rising. You can't stop it. It's here. It's not coming. It's already here. Um,
It's been here for a
it's
while
been,
and it ain't going nowhere.
right. Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach. Again, I can go on. Demon Slayer, all these things that are these shows in terms of how much they capitalize in just one single episode of emotional weight, drama, conflict, deaths, triumphs and stuff like that. All those things, that's what anime's been doing for decades. Now, and now we're seeing this. I feel like this type of writing now on an animated show from Marvel, but hopefully they can give this type of thing not only just in terms of their other animated shows, but just for live action, which is really the main important thing. Is live action. It's the way they can kind of bring it to the new generation that now people are positively responding to. Because you think about it, on paper, you're the fact that you're juggling all of these characters that some of us know and some of us even don't know. Again, even though in terms of ratings, like most people don't even know this show's even out. They will know this show when season 2 comes out. It's like now we're getting Airbnbs, we're getting merchandise, we're getting freaking, visors and all stuff like that. Everybody, like, this is what fandom is supposed to be. This is what when we're participating in this phenomenon, right? Which we haven't really gotten since, pre Endgame, to be honest with you, right? And also that there is an audience for X-Men. Yes, the recent X-Men films prior to the acquisition have not been, the best and stuff like that, but now we're getting to an age where we're getting to the standard of what X-Men is supposed to be. And really with the foundation of it, which is prejudice, which is, civil rights in base of it all, but also not also again, which is, and again, this important thing, people roll their eyes on, is not even though pandering to an agenda, but more importantly trying to tell a story that has implications in the world we're living in today, but not watching propaganda. You're watching a story. And that's, to me, what I feel is missing with a lot of writers today. And again, shout out to the writing team on this show. Beau DeMayo, even though hopefully he might come back, again, I've seen just because you might be fired from Disney, I've seen other folks fired from Disney before, and they're running freaking
Uh-huh.
companies now. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I honestly felt like they did a good job on a not only writing powerful episodes, but being consistent through multiple episodes where it's like, you know what? All right, instead of me binging 9 or 10 episodes straight on a weekend, no, you're giving me enough meat in just 22 minutes out, and I can I can wait next week. Other Disney Plus shows, I can't say that, right? And I think again, this is what I feel that again, this show should be textbook on terms of how you write or do massive storylines, but also don't have to drag things out, but also let things that do matter and spend his time on it. And think about it, we got the Goblin Queen. We the on paper in the comics, even also this too, changing aspects of the comics because we know that's a thing that a lot of us in the community do not like, that you also change it to adapt to the story that you're telling, but then actually make that change better. Like, having Madeline Pryor, who is the mother of Cable, but also having that relation dynamic when Jean Grey gets to the picture and stuff like, you're not her, you're not my mother. You're just, no, and also the dynamic of Cyclops as the father, and having and how great this father son moment in this episode with him seeing his eyes and stuff like that, like that was just powerful. That was powerful. um but yeah, I mean, again, I can go on. We can go on each character, the Bastion arc and all that stuff like that. But I had to say, bravo, hands down to this. Definitely, yeah, like standing ovation, whatever you call it. Give all the marbles and stuff. But definitely are setting the stage for something that's coming in season 2, which we'll get into. But yeah, but what was your thoughts on this episode, like today that we got, in terms of the story they covered, in terms of completing the E for Extinction storyline and everything, and Zero Tolerance?
Man, this season 1 finale episode was just literally insane. It had me going through a rush of emotions of being like, oh shoot, are my characters going to survive? To oh my god, hey look, it's so and so making a cameo. To hard hitting moments again, like Cable at talking to Scott and Jean right before everything happens at the end, or instances like she's risen, for example. Again, just so a fluctuation of emotions that always came whenever I watched these episodes were present within this freaking finale. There's just so many moments that I'm just like, these are so many moments I just love that they brought in, and they made it work, and they made it feel natural with these characters, because we know these characters can do these things. We know these characters are capable of achieving said feats, and they are. They aren't holding them back. They aren't restricting them, because in animation there aren't that many restrictions. And thank God we get shit like this, like the Phoenix coming back with Jean Grey. Even though she's not full Phoenix for like a long time, it was good to have that acknowledgement and at least tease that it could happen more in the future. Or, for example, Roberto fully embracing himself as Sunspot and, becoming a full-fledged member of the team. Or just little moments like this with the freaking Avengers, Iron Man from the old Iron Man animated series, and Captain America once again protecting President Kelly. Again, just so many moments in here that just a wide range of emotions. One minute I could be depressed, the other I could be hype, and that was a good thing. That was a good. It's a good thing to get excited when Doctor Strange is just out there performing surgery, or Cloak and Dagger are showing up to back up Daredevil, or Silver Samurai is just showing up out of nowhere, or you got Alpha Flight backing up Psylocke, you got Red Omega and what I think was Crimson Dynamo, fighting amongst them trying to stop Bastion, amongst Charles Xavier and his incredible moments with Magneto inside their mind. Just so, again, this show is so good. This show is so freaking good on so many levels. Writing and execution, and just, again, making this feels like a Marvel universe that has been around for a very long time. And so it just feels like it's so full of life. That's the thing that I can say. This just feels like it's so full of life, and it's not restrained to one thing. It's full of life. It has so many characters, and while not all of them are going to be active at the same damn time, it makes you feel like, man, this shit is incredible.
Yeah, like I mean, again, like you see right here, like the fact that we got
The,
freaking,
the
like, come
fact that
on.
the fact that X-Men 97 finally showed us he found MJ. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And thank you, X-Men 97, for like freaking healing the hearts of everybody who was heartbroken at the end of the
Yes.
Spider-Man
Thank you for
animation.
healing all the 35-year-olds. Like this, like this, for long time. But this is also the thing too, even the cameos that we see in the episode. We haven't gotten to the meat of it and everything yet, but like the fact that the cameos didn't come across, at least to me, it did not come across as cheap. It came across as expected, but
Mm-hmm.
unexpected at the same time.
Right.
Like the fact that I don't believe Cloak and Dagger didn't show up in the original animated series at all.
No,
Um,
I don't think they showed up in, like, as far as my memory is concerned, they didn't show up in, because again, like, the series that we know are all connected are X-Men animated series, Spider-Man animated series, Iron Man's animated series, Hulk, and Fantastic Four. I don't think they showed up in any of them, but it's just glad to acknowledge the fact that they exist and fighting alongside Matt.
Right. And then also, again, what they in the next thing they do out of nowhere, they hit you home with this, man. They got freaking the Dora Milaje and the T'Challa Black Panther in this, but also you got multiple Black Panthers. Look like that one was T'Challa, and then you got King T'Chaka. Come on, this is the
Mm-hmm.
90s, right? The dad's still alive. He might
Yeah.
be still be Prince and everything, but he did appear in the original serious and stuff. But like stuff like this, like when you have Magneto from the previous episode changed, shut the entire Earth down for almost going back to the Stone Age of giant doing a giant EMP and stuff. That has consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I keep championing. Listen, Avengers versus X-Men is good by name, but now on paper and the story that they actually did, whether you like it or not, that story arc in the comics, I leave it there. But having that as a threat, I think that's very interesting. But what makes sense for Avengers versus X-Men, right? And when watching this, like, yes, this leads to Avengers versus X-Men down the road. Now, in season 2, most probably not. Definitely, probably in season 3. But because now you're incorporating all these other characters, but have dramatic consequences. Like, no, we ain't just. It's not like you have a freaking in the movies, like you have freaking Celestials just jump out, come out of freaking Earth, and we're not going to talk about it for not 1, not 2, not 3 or 4 or 6, 4 movies or 6 Disney Plus shows. We just act like it didn't happen. But no, I am shutting the lights off today on planet Earth. That has consequences to everybody, even Wakanda. And you think the King of Wakanda, like, and then also the fact that this is also a dealing with a mutant issue, because this again, let's go back to like even the stuff we're going to now politically right now, our nation overseas and stuff. Like, hey, there's genocide that is happening, but also there's not also people not giving grace to each other. Like even the episode, like you saw, when how humans were trying to address the issue, and you see Captain America did not want to do the Magneto protocol, but he's like, okay, I have to, or not that he has to, but the government has to, because you and the decisions that they make, I completely understand. I can,
Mm-hmm.
as a viewer and everything, even though you're rooting for the X-Men and stuff, I completely understand. Now, in terms of how this have implications in the future, I don't know, but I am all here for it and everything. But we can go back into the main team again today with X-Men. Like, listen, for one, definitely that how last week episode ended with Wolverine having the adamantium pull out of his body and having that ramification. Like, no, he's out for the whole episode. And
Yeah.
stuff. He ain't dead, but he is out on commission. Yeah. Paid
Yeah,
leave.
and especially after the end of the episode, we don't even know where he ended up.
Right, and stuff like that. So and how we lead to the beginning of this episode, which is between again Magneto and Professor. Now Magneto's been top dog this whole season, and Professor X, now we're getting to this conflict, which has happened after Wolverine get his adamantium pulled off of him. Then Professor X going to full berserk, and everything goes on his mind. But then this caused also their minds to be split apart. Now
Mm-hmm.
this leads into potential things, like character onslaught, which for some fans is favorite. Some people like no, they don't like onslaught, but regardless, he's like one of the most OP characters in the Marvel universe and comics.
Mm-hmm.
That's never actually been told, his narrative told in animation or in live action at all. But it's like kind of
Mm-hmm.
one of the most ridiculous entities in Marvel that's ever been created, and that might literally be coming in season 2, what they might be setting up. But yeah.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it with the whole onslaught thing, I don't think that'll be for season 2. But what you were saying with season 3 potentially being Avengers versus X-Men, how they combine storylines in order to make things work, they might combine that with onslaught because the Avengers and Fantastic Four were a part of the onslaught storyline, so they might do that.
Yeah, but like which we see here, like the all roads, for next season, definitely, as you mentioned, like, yeah, we're going into the age of apocalypse, which is, oh, ooh, my bad. I was about to change screen. Didn't change. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going into the age of apocalypse and stuff and Sabanur. And also the X-Men split, in different time, but Apocalypse is still heavily involved into this and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And as we see in the end episode teasing that certain characters might come back and be some of his heralds for the Four Horsemen, and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, like this definitely is textbook of what after the E for Extinction storyline, I think, and Zero Tolerance is the same thing. And even then, it was actually in the comics where Apocalypse actually helped the X-Men against Onslaught
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So because there was a more bigger entity and everything. So Yeah, so there's some what definitely things where they can go with this, but one of my favorite moments from this episode, we'll get into like how it started, is between Magneto and Professor X. And while they're in their mind, we're going back to when they first met in those white coats, which is from the the original
Mhm.
series and stuff like that. But just talking about their they're revealing themselves to each other about their abilities. But it definitely was giving X-Men First Class, from
Mhm.
meeting each other, but they realize that they're in Magneto's mind, and he's basically trying to get him to stop what he's doing and stuff. But then his mind is now continuing to split and stuff, and now he's there's waves coming and everything. The mind like giving Inception, but and how his trauma is still affecting him even on a psychological level, but we're seeing it visually there. But
Mhm.
yeah, how did you feel about that, just that scene of just them going back and forth and everything?
Going back and forth between like just like the entirety of like in the mindscape with Charles and
Yeah,
Eric.
that time for this whole episode, that there it's like
Yeah,
yeah.
that was by far like one of my favorite moments from the entirety of the season. Just the fact that we're able to see within all those scenes the friendship and the relationship between Charles and Eric, why they are so close, but also seeing Magneto's trauma. The fact that ever since the concentration camps, he's always felt alone, and everybody that he tries to get close to ends up leaving him, whether that be Rogue or, as we also saw on the boat, his daughter Polaris or Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. He always feels like everyone just keeps leaving him or abandoning him or betraying him. And yet, Charles is the only one who consistently is like, hey, I will never abandon you. And even and in a metaphorical stance, even if I get swept away by the current as well, I'm not letting go of you. And like that is just so freaking good. And again, it reminds you of just how good the writing was when it came to First Class and showing the relationship between Charles and Eric in the live action version. Both are just really, really good and peak moments of X-Men storytelling. Again, with that, you see with the movie version, you saw more of it in real time. With this, you get visual metaphors, but you still understand. You can again, this season really made you understand Magneto. A lot of people before this probably would have been like, "Oh, he's a villain," but this entire season made people feel like, "Nah, I like Magneto. He's not bad, and Magneto is right."
Yeah, Magneto was right. Like I to me, well, I say my favorite character in this whole season definitely is Magneto. And then as you see in the scene right here, that yeah, he's not like when he being called out by Rogue and stuff, in the physical realm and everything. But you've seen that. But in the boat, you see off the distance in the shadow, you see Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Polaris, their children. Which again, that whole arc has not really been fully explored. Yet it has definitely been touched. It's been on the show, or at
Mm-hmm.
least two of them have been in, but now where they're going with that, which we'll get into later and everything, but I love that they have that off there because Magneto definitely psychologically feeling alone,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like this on his own and everything, but then also the ripples of terms of family that he needs longing for him. Even then Rogue is calling out for him, but also in that scene it can show that his kids are also calling out to him, even though they
Mm-hmm.
might not literally do it, but that's what it's feeling, right?
Yeah.
But they're in the shadow because they feel, it kind of gives like the play like they're distant from that relationship, but it's definitely there, like it's still there in his head, back in his head, and everything, which that was good. But also in talking about his trauma with the in Germany, you also in the show, you also hearing the German boots, stomping, in the ground and everything, like remembering the concentration camps and all that stuff like that, like those small details emphasize that greater impact. And I'm like, you can't get that on Fox Kids, like they
No.
won't allow it, like
Nope.
and
You could even mention it like it was just, oh, something happened to my parents.
yeah, right. You can right. No, so that's I definitely like what they were doing there. But again, also with the reminder of Professor X, so even though we go back and forth side by side, we'll fight each other. And it's like you hurt me. I've hurt you, yes, and you've hurt me, and I've hurt you too. But regardless of that, we are still family. And that to me. is like again solidified with Magneto is definitely a split side, which I think is kind of changing now. We're in this new generation of seeing villains now, seeing villains in their perspective. Now we got films like the Joker and other characters now that we're seeing more fleshed out. Which back in the day is always just black and white, hero, bad guy, boom, 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 we'll go. It's like no, this is not black and white, it's gray. And this
Mm-hmm.
show definitely goes to even when you get characters like Bastion, with his motives and stuff like that, knowing that even then he is just, there's things that are also out of his control because he's programmed. But also, when people do horrible things, and create genocide, and also they're programmed too. Metaphorically speaking, you know what I mean. But and literally, with indoctrination or whatever, any morals, beliefs that they have, like those things is what make people who they are. In terms of the beliefs that you stand on, how that you can get easily corrupted by it, and stuff like that. And again, also I like Bastion was a very particular villain that I never expected, at least in terms of what X-Men villains, like you always have few. You had Magneto, Apocalypse, Sinister, and that was basically it.
Mm-hmm.
The main three like core stuff, but also Sentinels and stuff like that. But this was definitely showing the evolution. Shout out to X-Men Evolution. But yeah, like the evolution of these characters and stuff. But I got to commend Bastion being a very calculated villain, but then also definitely losing control at the end. But yeah, what was your thoughts on Bastion against his plan in overall season, but then also in this episode?
Well, first off, I just gotta say, shout out to Theo James, the voice of Bastion. He did a kick-ass job portraying this character. I'm gonna say Bastion. This man is a this man is a calculated menace. But at the same time, when it comes to a lot of good villains, you can also see where he's coming from. You, again, that's the thing. Again, that's the thing with good villains. If you can see where they're coming from, then it's like okay, even if you don't fully agree, you can at least understand why they are the way they are. And with Bastion, it's like it's it's literally insane because it's like he's been programmed to do this since he is a fusion of every single type of Sentinel from past, present, and future, from basic Sentinels to Master Molds to Nimrod, and yet he's also this complicated character that is just trying to basically rework the world in a sense, just trying to get rid of mutants, just like the normal standard that most X-Men villains, well, some X-Men villains try to go for. But he's also just this multi-layered character that also has some sick freaking one-liners as well. But it's so meticulously planned in everything that he does. The fact that so much of what happened in this season was something he was planning, from Madeline Pryor's birth to Cable to the Hellfire Gala, you know, Genosha mutant massacre, to everything that has gone on for like the first half of the season, Storm losing her powers and everything like that. It's just this dude was planning it from the start. And even though we only got little hints of him before he actually showed up, you could still feel like, damn, this dude was calculated, and he had the means to back it up once he showed up, both physically by getting in the ring with these X-Men, but also mentally by just his plans going off without a hitch. Like that is a calculated villain done right. That is a threat that doesn't need to be there the entire time. That's a looming threat that you still feel the weight of even before they actually show their face.
Right. And again, it's like uh how you do in terms of different types of villains in the future and stuff. Like this is to me it's like you're bringing in the comics and applying it, into the storyline, but again, you're giving a not a black and white villain. You understand that, in this scene you're seeing like Professor or Cyclops and Jean Grey like definitely are reaching out to him saying like, listen, there was a potential time you could have been one of us, but your mother no uh hid you from us and everything. And then he's still blinded because that she want to protect me from you guys and stuff, even though that you're one of us. And again, it's calculated, man. It's like he's very passionate, even though because he also is part human, part sentinel and everything. But yeah, he is a mutant. He is just trying to destroy the very thing that he is, right? And uh it kind of again goes into the mindset of people again, going back to prejudice. It's like, again, it's programmed, even though Sentinel's literally programmed this dude, his inception and all that stuff. But yeah, I gotta commend the show for this, though, for what they're doing with that character, and potentially ultimately his demise and stuff, leading that. But yeah, I got overall, we gotta get into the finale of the episode, because now, as we said about Apocalypse, the characters are displaced in time, and now it's left to be continue and stuff. But are actually the X-Men been missing for past
6 months.
6 months and stuff, and Forge is trying to find, find where they are and everything. But then also we get people showed up. We got boy Bishop coming back and everything. I was like, please, please make sure you come back, man. And he does.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he comes back, you come up with this image here. Let me pull this up right here. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
give it up also back to Days of Future Past, literally, with the comic cover. But yeah, we see some the main mutant roster are being presumed either missing or dead. But we
Mm-hmm.
see also open people. We see Colossus, he's fine. Iceman, he's fine. Havoc is open. Exodus as well, which we've seen Exodus previously this
Mm-hmm.
season. Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde. But also with you have Cable, who's AWOL at the moment. But then you also have where you see Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, that they're off world. Now, what does that mean? Now, Beau DeMayo's on Twitter. Shout out to Twitter. He had a wink emoji when someone posted this stuff. Now I'm thinking that, again, this is probably involving the Inhumans and everything. Listen, there's only so much you can add into in this episode with a lot of cameos and everything. But I think this is just setting the seeds for something in the future, definitely for their return. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what was your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, just again the setup. At least if we're talking the setup in present day was Forge and Bishop, and this big, you know, Days of Future Past esque wall. It is interesting to see what characters Forge is thinking of to take up the mantle of the X-Men until he can, find everybody. Of course, that's not we don't see everybody that he's looking into on that board, because there are some that are obscured. Um, but again, like, it's just crazy to see, and it makes me think, like, damn, like, how crazy will season 2 go? And also in terms of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I feel like if anything, you might be right in where they are, but I feel like once they finally get back from being off world and you know learn that their father is missing along with most of the X-Men, Wanda might be like, let me try and find this dude.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, anything's off the table though. Anything off the table with this though. But I don't know. We can talk all day about this. We will, more as the show information comes out and stuff. But again, season 2 will is confirmed as well. We don't know, probably 2025, because Marvel's What If season 3 will be coming in the fall or December of this year. So that'll be the next animated show that'll be coming out this year. But yeah, but I just want to get Jake, what's your final thoughts on the show before we wrap up?
um, well, before I talk about that, like, I just also want to talk about like the whole setup with Apocalypse. I do like how, like, again, when it comes to Apocalypse, this over another overarching villain. Like, we've seen Apocalypse before on the '90s cartoon show, but the fact that they set it up to where it's like almost a mystery, where it's like you have some of the X-Men in the past with Apocalypse before he's Apocalypse, then you got Apocalypse showing up in present day in Genosha, and then future is most definitely the Age of Apocalypse timeline. Even the freaking woman who shows up, for those who don't know, is actually Rachel Summers, Scott and Jean's daughter, with the younger Nate Gray. So it's crazy just to see
X-Man.
what. Uh huh. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy to see just what he has, and I'm almost curious if especially in the past, if they might do something to try and change Apocalypse, because there are instances of Apocalypse being a good guy, either Kid Apocalypse or the Krakoa era where Apocalypse is working with the X-Men. But we'll have to see how that whole thing goes. But overall thoughts on this entire show, I loved it from episode 1, and I continue to love it all the way until this 10th and final episode of season 1. and as I said, it's going to be very, very difficult to wake up next Wednesday and there not be a new episode of X-Men 97. But at least I have the knowledge that these characters will be back again, either like early or something next year. It depends on when they want to release this, because again, we got other Marvel products that'll be coming out around that time, such as Daredevil Born Again, for example. But I just cannot wait to get back into this world. Like this, it's on a similar level when it came to when Invincible season 1 ended, when Arcane season 1 ended. It's just I want more. Give me more now.
Yeah. I again, as I said with this, with that's Summer's daughter, right there,
Mm,
that picture. But yeah, I again, while hyperbole, this is by far the best animated show that Marvel Disney Plus has put out. But to me, I feel this is one of the best written show. Is it the best? No, but is it one of the best written shows on Disney Plus, period? And I mean, including live action, absolutely. Like
yes.
this, if anything, this entire season showed how to write a serialized show, but all have each episode have a little bit impact and weight, and even though combining multiple different storylines and everything, still able to combine these massive arcs and stuff like that, man. It's like it's insane. And again, on paper, this should have been a mess, but it's not. And only that, we got the future to look out for like these two, definitely, with the Sabanur and Onslaught, definitely being teased up, and also the return of, you know, uh, the man, the myth, the legend, the um, hopefully that if he returns, he'll come back as a herald, which would be Gambit, and which everyone people which in anything Marvel or anything comics, the character is not always dead, for at least for the long. Jean Grey died
Mm-hmm.
multiple times, all that stuff. But yeah, Gambit's
Mm-hmm.
coming back, and he might be a herald for one of the Horsemen of Death for Apocalypse. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
only time will tell though. Yeah.
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 Just remember it. Just remember
Yes.
it.
The name's Gambit. Remember it.
Remember it.
Yes. Um, but yeah, y'all, guys, we'll be posting more relatively soon. Again, make sure you hit the notification bell on your way out, and because we got more ton of reviews coming your way and stuff like that on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share. If you're new to the channel, make sure you also follow all platforms such as YouTube, TikTok. If we'll be here tomorrow, hopefully we'll know. As well as Instagram. Instagram, definitely make sure you guys check that out. But we'll see you guys next video and review. Till next time, it's J King, Jedi Mike 7. Peace. We are out.